Welcome back. Let's talk to the founder of Nextbud, Ademola Abass, joining us virtually from the United Kingdom. Abass, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
We always try to check in on tech bros and people within that space just to see how well we're doing. So from outside in, by your own assessment, how well are we doing so far?
I think tech is one of the things that Nigerians generally, what we are well known for. We are very smart people, very intelligent, and I think we are world class. So I think from the outside, in the tech world, Nigerians are doing amazing work.
They say this is perhaps, I think, the fifth revolution in that sense. And this is the chance Africa had because for every other revolution, perhaps we're not on the table or we didn't measure up from the industrial to all of the revolutions we're familiar with. Now, technology is maybe a leveler in that sense, even though we have a long way to go because there are so many tables we're not sitting on. From where you sit and what you see, how much of movement are we having to be able to approach that table significantly so that at least on the continent we can begin to call the shot in that sense in terms of provision? Because right now there's super saturation in fintech while we have arable land in terms of agriculture and several other things we could do beyond just fintech.
I think in the last couple of months, from my observation, I've seen startups, I've seen tech companies come up, even hardware tech companies now in Nigeria coming up, which is not like the usual. Like I said, fintech has been like what we usually put more attention into. But at the moment, we are seeing the rise of new tech companies outside fintech. And I believe that the internet, especially with AI coming in, has made tech a leveler, or how do I put this? We are able to compete with other countries. We have the same resources as they have. And for you to be a tech bro, for you to start a company, all you need is internet, right? You need internet, you need the right tech resources, which is, at the moment, I can say available in Nigeria. The only thing, however, that I think a lot of people are struggling with is the funding aspect. Hopefully, when that gets better, we'll see the rise of more tech companies in Nigeria. But I think we're doing really great, like I said before. And this is the revolution, like you mentioned, and hopefully we're able to get it to the peak.
To gain critical mass and get to that point of being counted on the table as part of this current revolution, what should we be doing to our curriculum? I'm very specific with primary schools because it looks like for primary schools, let's just get them some level of literacy, let them understand how to use the internet. But if you look at some of our people from even the global south, let's say even China and some other countries, you see that there's a clear-cut direction. If you were to define for policymakers to say, let's just not introduce young people to computing and all of that, what exactly is the future going to look like for us, and how would you like the policymakers to direct that energy that we have now for people in primary school?
I think there is a gap between the theoretical aspects of tech and the practical aspects in Nigeria. I would suggest that we put more attention in the practical side. I have a cousin studying to become a software engineer in Nigeria at the moment, and trust me, we've had conversations. I'm a software engineer myself, self-taught. More practical, he is more theory-based. We've had conversations, and I can promise that it's not where I would expect him to be, despite being, and that's even at the university level, not to talk of primary school levels where they are still probably teaching them parts of computers, whereas the Chinese, like you mentioned, they've gone past that level to the point of like having classes where they literally teach them to code, teach them to build things, give them problems and ideas in the classroom setting. So I would suggest if we can adapt some of these things that other countries are doing into our curriculums, that would be great. Which means schools need to have teachers that can actually teach these things. And teachers that can teach these things require good salary for them to be inspired and motivated to want to do it. And I think there are a lot of young people now, with over 75% of the population being under 25 years. I think if the policymakers can change and re-strategize our approach in tech education, I think we can definitely do and go a long way.
All right, as we begin to wind down, let's talk about social issues like inclusion for better employability. I know that you are also focus on that as well, because they've been advocating across board, whether in terms of politics, in terms of the voting system. But I think the average person who is physically challenged wants to be useful in that sense. Permit me to use that word. What more can we do, and what is it that you see we're not doing enough for them? In about 1 minute.
You mean persons with disability?
Yes, please. I'm talking about inclusion in general now.
Inclusion in general. All right. Inclusion in general. I mean, definitely we want to encourage inclusion in general, but specifically with persons with disability, which is where I am quite passionate about. Even persons without disability struggle to have full access to, let's use voting system, for example. Having to go there to vote, you have to queue up, you have to sometimes struggle to even get, you have to climb steps, you have to do all of these things to get to like the polling areas and things like that, which most of these places are not physically accessible. All right, so definitely, if we are trying to encourage inclusion in that aspect, we need to think towards accessibility, especially physical accessibility, which a lot of public places in Nigeria are still lacking of.
I must thank you so much. Ademola Abass, founder Nextbud. We're always checking on you, our tech bros, to know how well we're doing. Thank you for giving us that update. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with a young lady who we found on the social media. Super excited. And she's now called to the bar. And she does a couple of other things beyond just being a lawyer now that she's been called to the bar. She's an interesting individual. In just a moment, we'll be talking with her, and you'll understand why. Join us.